In Pizza Tower, hundreds of runners have submitted times for completing the entire game in its individual levels as fast as possible. However, no room in any level has been quite as competitive as one in the game's signature ice level, which demands the most out of every runner who encounters it. It demands incredible snappy reaction time, along with good usage of coyote time and very precise jumps. This room wasn't always like this. Over the past year, many runners have risen up to the challenge to optimize this room beyond comprehension, and only a select few have come close to squeezing the most out of it that's as humanly viable. This is Freezer_11. Before going into how the specific room evolved over time, let's give a brief overview of Pizza Tower speedrunning as a whole. As soon as the game's early demos began to show off, it amassed a small, humble community of players willing to take its gameplay as far as possible to achieve record times. However, once the game officially released and became quickly to amassing an incredible large following, one level out of the game's 20 plus levels stuck out like a sore thumb. I'll have you know, it's 19 levels. Not 20 plus. Refrigerator-refrigerador-freezerator is a level in the game's 4th floor that became infamous thanks to its rough ice terrain, the abundance of tricky-to-avoid enemies, and its second half transformation, the Satan's Choice power-up, which makes Peppino invincible and able to fly around in a tricky-to-control spinning motion. However, none of those specific attributes are important to the game's 11th room, called Freezer_11 in the game's court. Freezer_11 is a long right-to-left hallway where the player must cross the various bottomless pits to the other side using the jetpack sprinkled throughout the room and the short platforms in between. Naturally, runners wanted to optimize this room by not only building up enough horizontal speed early by sticking to the ground as much as possible, but also conserving that speed by navigating around the platforms and jetpacks for the most optimal path. The first 80% world record for the game, set by Uncle Joel, features a notably unoptimized and sluggish setup for Freezer_11, with Joel notably grabbing in midair several times to slow down and play the room as safe as possible, while also bumping into the floating platform and losing all of his speed. However, it was good enough for him to achieve a time of 9.93 seconds within the room. It was clear that more would need to be done to take this room further than a bare sub 10-second time, which is exactly what Soaringslov, hey, my boy Soaringslov, did in his first ever run of the game. While achieving an overall 80% time 20 minutes slower than Joel, Sloth saved 650 milliseconds by never intentionally slowing down like Joel did, landing him a room time of 9.28 seconds. As individual level runs, or IL runs for short, became more popular, there was now more of an opportunity to people to come up to the task of optimizing Freezer_11, as their time in this room would have a more noticeable effect on their finished run. However, in the first month of the game's release, the only runner to make any improvement to Freezer_11 in the IL category for refrigerator-refrigerador-freezerator was Captain Drake, who had already completed several runs of other ILs and the full game 80% category before. While he did lose his speed by bumping into a wall near the end, Captain Drake did not lose any speed prior to this, and this much smoother movement allowed him to complete Freezer_11 within just 8.26 seconds, an improvement over a second. However, in early March, LeKukie, famously known as a high-level Super Mario Bros. Speedrunner, will take this time further, going below 8 seconds for the first time, with a 7.68 second time in Freezer_11. While it helped that he didn't bump into the wall that Captain Drake did, LeKukie made small optimizations to his movement that was not only faster than Captain Drake's strategies, but was also more consistent because it only quick-fired 2 jumps in the middle of the room and on the last slope, along with a grab cancel after the last jetpack. This is where the record stood for several months until May 24th, when the sunglasses emoji lowered the record down by exactly 1/10 of a second to 7.58 seconds. The record stabilized in the mid 7-second time range for a good while. However, when all hope for Freezer 11 being a nightmare was seemingly lost, someone new named Fledgling Coolman decided to come along and start the chain of events that will eventually turn this room into complete bullshit. This is Jetpack Skip. Jetpack Skip was found by Fledgling on April 1st, 2023 and involved skipping the first 3 jetpacks with 2 relatively tight jumps. Due to the strategy being very precise and it only shaving 0.2 seconds across the whole of refrigerator-refrigerator-freezerator, IL runners and full game runners alike would not use Jetpack Skip until late May in Vlak SR's full game 80% world record, in which Vlak dives and then uses a power bomb in order to skip an entire jetpack. Vlak would achieve a freezer_11 time of 7.41 seconds, which was later optimized in IL runs by runners Jade, Slumberon, and the real Yoshi. Slumberon tying Vlak and Yoshi, setting a new record for freezer_11 with a time of 7.31 seconds, thanks to generally more precise movement and a seemingly more consistent strategy to skip jetpack that only involved a single jump at the end of the floating platform. While this time would seemingly stay put as the fastest freezer_11 ever performed for another month, something else began brewing in the Pizza Tower speedrunning Discord server. In the summer of 2023, runner Turpo, who was beginning to get into Pizza Tower speedrunning, decided to start practicing refrigerator-refrigerator-freezerator, which is when freezer_11 caught his eye. Knowing that there was extra potential for the room, he and another runner, Impossablank, began brainstorming new ideas on how to push this room even further. Most of the improvements are hard to research now, as they have been buried by countless messages in the Pizza Tower speedrunning Discord server and are mostly lost to time, so we can only source from recollections of the 2 runners. However, we luckily have information about the final strategy that these 2 runners came up with, and I have done my best to recreate it. That's not me, I'm just a drunk tart that's reading this out. It involves roll running at the earliest possible wall, performing a coyote jump, which is a jump performed during a few frame window you get when running off a ledge to jump as late as possible to avoid wall running on another ledge and maintain Peppino's speed, and then jump into the jetpack. Hold left and grab slide as soon as you have reached the end of the last wall run. The strategy saved 266 milliseconds if done perfectly, being a mere 3 frames from exactly 7 seconds. This was thought to be the fastest way to get through freezer_11, and even if it wasn't, Turpin and Impossablank were relatively content with this being the furthest they could push the room. However, there was someone who wasn't so content with this being the end.
I was like, hey, can anyone verify my run? Which he then promptly deleted that message, but I remember telling him, like, you need to wait for people to verify your run.
This run right here was achieved by not only performing a much tighter jump to aim for the next jetpack after the one previously used, but also by getting a precise jump grab from the very last jetpack that allowed him to skip wall running on the last wall. The last room time was 6.93 seconds, the very first sub-7 freezer_11 run ever performed. This is, as far as I have been able to tell, where the record for freezer_11 stands today. Several different strategies have also been trialed, such as using a precise dive and power bomb to skip from the third jetpack, or performing a roll akin to this one in a level fun farm. While some people have supposedly achieved 6.8 seconds with save states using some of these strategies, none have been put to the test nor proven to be faster than an unsegmented run of freezer_11. So we'll have to wait and see if anyone uses these techniques in an unsegmented run to bring the record down further. The task of this room was made by Vexter, Pizza Tower's most notable Tessa, which uses the exact same strategies that LeKukie used, but with frame-perfect execution. This task clocked in at 6.91 seconds, just a single frame faster than LeKukie's current world record. This is, to this day, the closest that human runners have come to reaching task levels of perfection, which is not only incredibly impressive, but also shows us the human limit of freezer_11. All that runners need to do to reach the human limit of freezer_11 is save 0.016 seconds, a single frame. We do not know who will be the first to save this frame, or prove that a 6.8 second time is indeed possible in an unsegmented freezer_11 run. Will it be LeKukie himself, Impossablank, Turpo, or any of the other game's top level runners? One thing is for certain though, with enough deliberation comes perfection. Thanks for watching.